Okay. Uh, Morning, guys. Good to be back here at our second chat. I think we got a lot of good feedback last week on the Mark Andrews one. So today, Gavin Richards is joining me. Morning, Gavin.
Morning, Brendan. Just I've got the sort of John Mitchell look since I last saw you. Decided to shave my hair off in lockdown.
I think we're both doing the lockdown hairstyles here. But joining us today, our second chat is Springbok tighthead prop Richard Bands. Richard, good to see you again, man.
Yeah, buddy. How you guys doing? Gavin, all good?
Yeah, no, good, great. We got, as I said to you just now, we've got great weather down here in the Cape at the moment. It's almost like being in Durban at this time of the year.
Yeah, lekker, man. Yeah, the
Richard,
area needs some water.
If I could start off, just asking you something that's always intrigued me. With a name like Richard Bands, are you a Soti?
Half Irish.
Half Irish, okay.
So that's a recipe for disaster, I suppose.
Okay, yeah, you went to an Afrikaans school. I'm right in saying that.
Say again?
You went to an Afrikaans school.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah, okay. That's right.
Okay, and if you could just tell me what happened. I mean, because I was just looking at your history and I saw you played for Stellaland way back in 1994. And then there was a 7-year gap between then and then suddenly you made an appearance for the Bulls. I don't know your career that well, but I'd love to just hear how that came about. It sounds quite interesting. You went into sort of hibernation for a while.
Well, hibernation, I wish it was, but yes. Look, I grew up in a small little farming community called Maritsani, which is there on the border of the old Botswana in the northwest. Went to primary school there. 50 kids in the school. I was head boy because I was the only boy, so leadership came through very early in my career. From there on, I went to Lichtenburg High School, which was the closest relative term. It was 100 k's away. So yeah, then I went to Lichtenburg, finished school there, went to the army. In 93, I finished army, and yes, I was still 20 years old, and I had to play Stellaland seniors. And in those days, the boys were tough and rough. I promise you, when you play the old RPM, Rustenburg Platinum Mines, there were some big boys there, you know. And here you are, 20 years fit out of the army, you know, chasing wings and going crazy. And then they chopped the tree quite quickly, you know. So in the olden days, you know, there was only a warning for a fist fight, nothing else. And then you shake hands and there's a formal introduction and you sit with blood on your face. And so, yes, but times were tough on the farm as well, you know. So during the day I had to do the farming, and at night I had to travel to Mafeking to go and play club rugby there. So, you know, sometimes it was difficult, and the motto was, if you don't attend practices, you don't play, you know. So funny enough, years later, when I turned back, I returned to the club and we had a little social there, and they had an old little program there. They said Mafeking rugby was so strong, the Springboks had to play in the second team, you know. So yeah, it's a good story. Fact of the matter is, for a few years, you know, I couldn't make practices. You know, you work from 5 in the morning till 7 or 8 at night, so it was difficult to get to training in Mafeking. So and Stellaland as well, you know. So I just stopped, you know, focusing on the farm. And then in '98, you know, I had my third drought, and the bank wouldn't help me again with a production loan. And well, the only thing that I knew what to do is to play rugby. So I went to the Free State, played a year there. They didn't want to give me a contract because they said I was a substandard club player. And in 2000, I moved to the Bulls. And end of 2000, Henny Kriel saw me and he phoned Heineke just when Heineke moved over, and he said, no, we need to give this guy a contract. And I signed my first contract at the end of 2000. And then, yeah, 2001, we won the Vodacom Cup, 2002 Currie Cup, 2003 Springbok, 2004 Currie Cup. 2005, I think we drew. So yeah, that's a short version of my career.
Richard, just maybe let me jump in here, just to go back to that when you went to Bloemfontein. There, you say from there you went to the Bulls. How did that come about? Was it? I know Ian Schwartz was from Bloemfontein as well, and he was also recruiting at that stage for Heineken. Was it through him, or did you just move to Pretoria on your own?
No, man. A guy called Donovan Twynham. He used to play for the Bulls years ago. So I know Donnie from Mafeking days. And he played in the era of Robert de Pre and Niels Botha. I think it was the 86 Cavaliers. He was on the bench when we played against the Cavaliers from New Zealand. And he was up in Pretoria. And I phoned him and I said, look, Donnie, I don't know. Maybe I don't have the potential to make it. The Free State, don't want to give me a contract. And he said, no, man, come in. And I started my career here at Harlequins. And I played my way up through the ranks, through the club level, So I took the long road and the tough road. Coming from a farming community or a small community, where we're not in the city where there's scouts and so on and so forth. You get the high road and the low road. So I had to take the tough one and play my way up. Even though in Lichtenburg, under 15, I think it was in 88, we won the old Beeld Trophy, Directeurs Trophy. I was under 15. So it was the first time in the history where the under 15s and the first team won that year the Beeld Trophy, or the Directeurs Trophy as they used to call it. But coming from a relative small community, to play your way through the ranks, it's hard work and it's tough. It's not like you're Waterkloof or Affies, where the guys get spotted when they stand at 6 or grade 8 or whatever, and they come through the system. So it's tough, and I think that's why, I'm involved with Tikkies with the Varsity Cup as well. I try my utmost best to get the guys from, call it, not, from the platteland, and get them in the system, because there's a lot of potential there in the platteland that we miss, and it's one of my philosophies, to get the boys in and get them in the system, because those guys work hard and they need to play hard in order to be seen, and it's just pave the road a little bit for them, but they need to understand I can only make it happen to get them there, and then it's for them to put in the hard yards.
I was thinking, because I think the first time I met you was around about I think it was around about 2002, around there, where you played for the Bulls B team at that stage in the SA Cup. Eric Sauls, I think, was your coach. That was the first time I know you came through and you made quite an impression on the season.
Yeah. That was the year with Eric Sauls. That was, I think it was 2000.
Was it 2000?
No, 2001. Yeah, it was 2000, 2001 with Eric Sauls. And funny enough, then after that season, him and, what was the other coach's name? JL, went down to SWD and they offered me a contract there. And I had a small little contract, because at that stage the Bulls were pretty much bankrupt, and they offered me almost double what the Bulls offered me, and pretty much desperate for money and making ends meet. I've decided not to go with them to SWD and stay with the Bulls, and Heineken said to me, Richard, stay with the Bulls, and I promise you in 3 years' time, you'll be a Springbok. And I thought, here's a guy that played Stellaland. Free State didn't want him. What is this guy smoking his socks, or what's going on? But fact of the matter is, he saw something in me, like he did in many other players, and I made it.
Yeah. Sorry, Brendan. I was just going to ask you: Did you always play prop? Because and you know why I'm asking this. I mean, like there was a moment when I thought maybe you played wing sometime in your school career.
No, Gavin. When I started in primary school, I played hooker. So like I said, we were 50 kids in the school, so we only had one team. Okay, so I was old severe, which was grade 1. So I was a hooker, and my two props were standard 5. So when we bound down in the scrum, you know, my feet were hanging where their knees were. You know, so that's how I grew up in the Tafel days. So I played hooker in primary school, and I think in standard 5, grade 7, I changed to flank, open side flank, believe it or not. And then in high school, I played my whole career flank. In Matric, I moved over to hooker, and then Free State I played hooker as well. But there was a huge competition. Naka was there, and Bom Low was there. So the cheetahs were tough, and they pretty much set up in the hooker setup. And in 2001 I played for the Bulls hooker, and then Heineke came and said, "Look, Rich, at the end of 2001, if you play hooker, you know you'll be okay hooker, but if you change to tighthead, you'll become a bok." I thought, yeah, you know what? So the change from hooker to tighthead was pretty easy for me regarding the feet that stayed the same and so on and so forth. But you need to have some kahunas to play in that position. You know, I always make a joke. I said, you know, a guy that played loose head is a guy that didn't make it on tight head. You know, so it's just a tongue-in-cheek joke between the boys. So yeah, I played flanker my whole life, and then I changed to hooker. You know, there's a way that things work. So you play center, then you become fat, then you become a flanker. You get fatter, then you're a hooker, and either you make it on loose or tighthead, or it's a career ending. So it's about watching your diet. You know, you can easily sneak from the back line into the front row if you don't watch your weight. But funny story is, you know, I just came back from an injury, and we played at Loftus. I think we played Eastern Province, and Heineke said I need to get some game time. So I played my 50 odd, 60 odd minutes on tighthead, and then he replaced me with another prop, and he moved me to wing. And I thought, yeah, what the heck's going on here? He said, look, you need game time, but I mean, at that stage you're leading like, you know, 60 points to 0, or whatever the case might be. So I was fortunate to play 2 games for the Bulls on the right wing with a number 3 on my back.
Well, I think there have maybe been worse wings out there, Richard. So it's not that bad. So, but you those days when you're playing moving from hooker to tighthead, that was in the really deep dark days of the Bulls rugby. I mean, 2002, I think it was when they lost all the games in Super Rugby as well. It was really not great times in the Bulls rugby back then.
No, it was tough. You know, it was tough. Heineke took a lot of shots. He had a terrible year with his dad having a heart attack. He got fired from the Super Rugby, and so on and so forth. So it was tough. But the fact of the matter is, you know, if you look at the system, you know, if a coach starts, you won't do well in your first season or your second season. You know, Currie Cup you can win in 2 years. Vodacom Rugby, you need to have like 5 years that you need to have the system in place. And I think that's where we're lacking a lot from New Zealand. You know, they've got a good system, and when a new coach slots in or new players, it just continues.
I was just thinking, because I mean back then, you know, I mean you just told your story how you sort of worked your way up almost unknown, and I remember back then, I mean, a lot of people thought Heineke was pretty mad when he had brought in guys like Pedro Vandenberg, who was thrown away by the Sharks. Bucky's was at the Falcons at that stage. Victor was at Griquas. You know, all guys who are household names now and went on to do great things for Springbok rugby. But back then, could you already see at that stage that there was something special brewing there?
Look, we need to understand that the guy that's hungry will always succeed. Hard work always beats talent, except when talent works hard. It's a motto that we have, and it's a philosophy, and that's why I'm trying to teach the boys at Tuks as well. So I mean, we were like the stray dogs in SA rugby at that stage. You know, Bakkies played for the Roosters, like you said. Victor was in Griquas. Anton Leonard, SWD, that came with Heineke and so on and so forth. So it was only US that was left, and Anton that played, you know, 1 or 2 tests. So, but we had a vision, and Heineke believed in us. And at that stage, you know, we had to play ourselves out of bankruptcy, the Bulls, firstly. I mean, I think at that stage, and I can't remember, but I think the budget was 6 million, you know, for 30 players or whatever the case might be. But Heineke said, boys, believe in me, stick to the game plan, believe in yourself, and I will look after you. And that's the way so there was a real band of brothers at that stage in the Bulls, because we were fighting out of the trenches. And I mean, where the Bulls are now, you know, that was the first stepping stone of the success of the Blue Bulls rugby in that, call it, golden era, or whatever the case might be.
Mm. And then we got going to obviously 2002, 2003. That was the great season where you made your breakthrough there in the box there as such. Maybe just take us through the Super Rugby went, and how did it go towards your Bok call up there?
Yeah, look, 2002 we won the Currie Cup, and I think that year, I mean, like I said, when we started in 2001, when we won the Vodacom Cup, Heineke said, you know, guys, just stick with it, and it will come, it will happen. So at the end of the 2002 season, after we've won the Currie Cup and we've beaten the Lions of Transvaal at Ellis Park, you know, a few guys got a bite of the cherry on the year-end tour, Wesselroe and a few other guys. And then and I think that was a reality, in the sense that you know, there's a real opportunity if you really work hard, and whatever the case might be. So in 2003 we started the season with Rudy Joubert and as head coach, but the majority of the guys came out of the 2002 setup in the Currie Cup. So there was continuity in the team as well. And then, you know, week in, week out, we played good rugby, because we knew each other, and we know the game plans and whatever the case might be. And you know, and then you start looking at the newspapers and you see, you know, the rating that you guys also always give, you know, a 4 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 or whatever the case might be. And I thought, geez, like, you know, every week I was fortunate to play, you know, fairly good rugby, you know, weekend after weekend. And I thought, yeah, maybe there's opportunity. And then a guy by the name of Stephen Roos phoned me just after well, I think we were in the latter half of the Super Rugby series. And he asked me, what's my jacket size? And I thought, and I go like, why do you want to know? You know, what's the story? You know, fishing out and whatever the case might be, Tri Nations coming up, of course. And I thought, yeah, you know, maybe you're in for it. And so it was fortunate, not a lot of injuries, and a good season. And as luck would have it, it was a World Cup year. So yeah, it was fortunate and hard work, and the buy-in from all the players. And I think in 2003 there was a majority of the guys that Heineke made a promise that will make Springbok, and that year it happened.
And obviously, you get to 2003, you know where we're going with the next question. Get to that
I'm
game.
sure not Comstaldraad.
Well, we'll get to the Comstaldraad now, but we're first going to go, because your try was before Comstaldraad. It was in the.
That's right.
It was in that Tri Nations game in Dunedin in 2003.
Yeah, that's right.
Still rated as one of the best tries in world rugby. Maybe take us through that, because it's obviously an unbelievable try.
Yeah, when was it? 2 weeks ago, there was in the newspapers, you know, the top 20 tries of all time. You know, so, and 2 Boks in it. You know, I think Brian was 14 and I was number 20. You know, so I made the cut at least. You know, so but I think I was the only front row in that top 20. So that's pretty cool. But look, it referees are funny guys. They never take the blame for anything. So you need to know that you need to take that opportunity. He'll never blow the whistle to say that he was in a way. So I always figured out that the gap is always where the referee stands, of course. Because they pretty much show ponies as well. So and they will never say that they were in default. So it just happened where they kicked the ball, and I think Ashton took it up, and we retreated. And I just came and I mean that's what makes Joost such a legend, is where you can see the opportunities. And he just passed the ball, and I went through the gap next to the referee. Of course, they didn't blow the whistle. And Carlos was in the way, and I just bumped him. Firstly, I was quite flabbergasted because the New Zealand defense was pretty strong at that stage, But like I said, the referee helped me there a little bit as well. And I was looking over my shoulder to see if there's any support, and I still, there's nobody close. And I thought of passing the ball, and there was no support, and I just bumped Carlos and went over for a try. So it's one of those things that I think I've scored 3 or 4 tries in my life. If you do it well. So I was very fortunate, and of course, like I say, life is about timing, and the timing was just awesome on that move. So yeah, very humble and very, very awesome experience.
Richard, did you ever score any other tries like that? I mean, I know you did score a couple of other tries in your career. Was that the first time that you scored a try like that?
From the halfway line.
well, I was going to say a link to the field, but of course that would be an exaggeration. a proper, like, a try that's a spectacular try, where almost like an individualistic, because that was, you would call that an individualistic try. I mean, it was, there wasn't too much help from your teammates in that one.
Yeah, look, there was a few tries. I scored one against Uruguay, but I don't think that really counts. I won't say, there was an odd drive over try, or I must admit the one Uruguay was pretty good. It was an overthrow on the line out. It was also in the World Cup. I caught the ball and I in and out the fly off. So for a prop, that's pretty awesome. But nobody talks about that, So it's always nice for a prop to sidestep a fly off, So other tries, not really that I can recall that. That's just do it and get back to the middle lane and wait for the kickoff. So no, there wasn't really. I won't say I'm a try scoring machine.
But has it surprised you, Richard? I mean, that try obviously is a great try, but how it's almost followed you around. That almost seems to be the defining thing that a lot of people remember you for, is that. And that I'm sure you get talk to everybody that you meet, at rugby functions, and that brings it up quite a lot.
It does, and it's like I said, it was a humbling experience, and but I was very fortunate, and funny enough, people remember me for 2 things: the try against New Zealand, and the first punch that I gave on that Leopards guy in Potchefstroom, where they wanted to ban me for life. So my dad always said, if you do something, do it well. So I was never a fighter, but the one I threw a few, but the one that counted was for everybody to see, and the try that I scored was also one for everyone to see. So yeah, I must say it is awesome getting to functions and people ask you about that, and yeah, like I said, it was really awesome.
Just, have you ever spoken to Carlos since that try? I mean, have you ever had a word with him about the bump?
Yeah, actually, I did a few times. We had a function here at Brits by a school by the name, I think it's Sunfeld or something like that. And he was on the stage with me. And we were sitting on a couch together on a Q&A that we did with Gary Skeppers and the boys there. And so they opened up the floor for questions from the audience. So everybody was asking the question about the try. So at a stage, Carlos nudged me with the elbow, and he said, Richard, I really fucked up. So yeah, it was excuse my French, but it is what it is, So he feels like he hasn't done anything in his life except slipping the tackle on me, So, but I mean, he's an awesome guy, and King Carlos, that nickname is there for a reason. He's an absolute brilliant player and a brilliant man. But I must just say, in 2002 we played the Blues, and he came running straight at me, and I thought, I'm gonna smoke his ass. And he looked me in the eye, and it just an offload on his shoulder for Dougie Howler that came through and scored under the post. And as he turned around, he said, mate, we passed you on the left. So and I thought, and I said to him that night at the function, that little chirp, I think we won all, after I bumped you. So we're all good. Yeah. But Carlos is awesome.
Oh no, he's a legend of the game. So